and she's a lusty, zesty goddess. And here's this guy just like washes up on her shore. So they have some fun together for about 7 years. But Odysseus is just crying all the time and sitting by the dock of the bay because he wants to get home to Penny. I know I told you this last time. I know that I told you this. I'm going to repeat it again, though. Gilgamesh basically loves Gilgamesh. Then he loves Enkidu. Then Enkidu dies, and we don't know what Gilgamesh loves. Odysseus, I heard that cynical remark back there. What was that? All of the ancient Mesopotamians were gay. That's just a joke. I was doing, Janelle, were all the ancient Greeks gay routine. Yes, of course they were. I mean, thank you. I'll be here all week. This will be a digression. I should have a little piece of paper that I can hold up when it says digression. There's no denying, Janelle, that in Gilgamesh, there are at least 2 occasions when he has dreams before he goes into the woods with Enkidu. That, Mom, Ninsun, I dreamt that this axe fell out of the sky, and I loved it with the love of women. And I would say that, because this is kind of a cultural competence thing, I would say that the Sumerians, the ancient Mesopotamians as a whole, didn't have anywhere near as much of a problem with people being gay as is common in Western civilization now. And it is also true of the ancient Greeks, that in some circles it was considered quite respectable, for guys to have other relationships with other guys. I mean, doesn't float my boat personally, and God knows they would still make lots of gay jokes and stuff like that. But it really wasn't that big of a deal. And the same with the ancient Romans. I mean, how many of you ever heard of a guy named Julius Caesar? How many of you have never heard of Julius Caesar? Yes, he invented the salad. What other famous thing did he do? There's no reason to be disgustipating, young lady. Okay, what's the most famous thing Caesar ever did? Your name?
He died.
Chris. One famous thing he did. I'm desperate for audience interaction.
I'm sure he killed his friend or something.
No.
He started the Imperium.
Yeah, they all did that. Camille? Yes, he got killed. He got stabbed like about 44 times. On what day? And that's why all Latin professors hide on the Ides of March. Julius Caesar was a bad ASS. It was a bad A55. And I like that, a bad A55. But even so, as he was marching in triumph through the streets of Rome after conquering Gaul, his soldiers marched ahead of him singing, "Home we bring our bold whoremonger, Romans lock your wives away. All the money that you sent him went his Frenchy whores to pay." And then their next song was, Gaul got conquered by Caesar. Caesar got conquered by King Nicomedes. What? They're basically singing Caesar's gay, Caesar's gay, Caesar's gay, he's a mo, he's a mo, he's a mo. And Caesar's riding in a chariot going like this in back. They just didn't have that big of a problem with it, How's that for a good answer? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Now, what the hell was I talking about before?
Gilgamesh loved himself, then he loved Enkidu, and then we don't know what he loved.
And Odysseus loves his wife.
There you go.
Thanks. Woo! I got it. He loves his wife. And I think that it's a particularly interesting aspect because it's kind of like a sitcom. He loves his wife. Yeah, he's been spending 7 years with this hot-looking goddess who basically wants to make him immortal and use his body through all eternity. But he wants to get home to Mrs. Odysseus and see if she'll take him back. And so eventually he gets on this raft and he starts saying, I'm not going to give you the entire set of details. Just suffice it to say that you can read the book. The book is good. That he spends some time in the island of the Cyclops, and he's basically just sailing all the way around the Europe. Zoom in on Europe here. Wasn't it a band from the 90s or something like that? They had some really horrible band with some really stupid videos. Oh, okay. And Africa is a song by Toto. He winds up on the island of Circe. And Circe, Taylor, will be on the test. C-I-R-C-E. Because Circe is another example, I think, of the bartender at the edge of the world figure. Like Siduri, it's never quite said in Gilgamesh whether Siduri is a goddess or not, but she is the bartender of the gods. She is out there in paradise, so she probably is a goddess herself. Circe definitely is a goddess. Circe is the daughter of no less than the sun god himself. Circe lives on an island in the middle of the ocean. She lives in the middle of the woods, and I don't have any green markers, so I'm going to draw some happy blue trees here. And here's the happy little island. And there's a clearing in the trees, and there's smoke coming up from the clearing in the trees. This, folks, is where Circe lives. When last we've seen Odysseus, he's just poked out the Cyclops' eye. Has he learned anything from his catabasis in the cave? No, not a darn thing. He yells out his name and address. So once his ship beaches on Circe Island, Odysseus says, let's divide the men up into two groups. Since we're ancient Greeks, we will call them Alpha and Beta. Pardon? Except for, well, okay, the Jets and the Sharks. Odysseus says, my team will be called the Jets, and you guys will be the Sharks. You guys will be the Jets, you guys will be the Sharks.
Bam.
We Jets will stay here and guard the ship. You Sharks will go check out what's in the middle of the woods. And that's a really good plan for us. What do you guys think? Oh, no, you're not. I'm asking them. I'm asking on the Sharks. What do you think of that, Chris?
It's not that great.
Why not that great?
So we have to go out and explore what could be bad, the bad unknown.
Not our problem.
Not our problem. Okay, yeah, and I mean, it may even be a minor catabasis. You know, liminal experience as you walk into the woods, contemplate your own mortality. It turns out to be this chick named Circe, the goddess. And I mean, I can't draw today. I'm just having a bad marker day. But it's like sharing this gown, and she's seeing if I could turn back time. And then she takes this wand, this magic wand of hers, because she's also a witch, and she turns all you guys into pigs.
Bacon.
So when once you're saying, what's going on here, it all turns into like oink, 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 oink. And then she herds you into a bunch of people where there's, you know, a bunch of other guys who are herded in there. She just thinks she's so funny, and then she's going to weave some more. One of the guys gets loose, and he says, hey, Odysseus, you know, you're going to have to help me here. All the other dudes have been turned into pigs. And Odysseus goes, well, what do you want me to do? Another epiphany takes place. The god Hermes. You ever see like the FTD guy, you know, who runs around bringing flowers and stuff like that? You know, he's running, he's got wings on his helmet, wings on his, You know, he's running there with this staff in his really long arm. With a staff with a couple snakes. There will be snakes later on in this class, by the way. He's running around doing that. That's Hermes, the messenger god, god of thieves and business people. He comes down and he says, Odysseus, Hermes. Yeah, here, drink some of this stuff. It's called soma. It will make you, magic proof. Oh, cool. And then she's going to take out her little magic wand, Odysseus. Yeah. And she's going to try to turn you into something. You pull out your big manly sword. Yeah. And threaten her with it. She's going to put down her wand and then say, please go to bed with me right now. And you should do this because she's a powerful goddess. It plays out just like Hermes says. Odysseus takes the anti-magic drug. He sees Circe. She tries to zap him with the magic wand. He pulls out his magic sword. They wave their phallic symbols around to impress each other. He wins. And she says, ooh, come to bed with me right now. And so she does. So he does. And they both do. Thank you. And they manage to have this kind of relationship for quite a while until Circe says, by the way, Odysseus, it's time to go home. Well, how long have I been here, Circe? It's been a year. Time to go home. I don't know how to go home. I don't know which way is home. Where do I find out how to go home? And Circe says, and I quote, go to hell. Basically, Odysseus' catabasis is motivated by his desire to get home to Penelope. He needs to ask for directions. He needs to get these directions from the famous blind seer Tireseus.
Wait, so he asked for directions?
Well, I know. I mean, guys are surprised. We can surprise you sometimes, Lay. Okay, dudes, how many times in this room have you ever asked, have any other guy besides me ever asked for directions? Thank you, thank you. Okay, now we have the GPS, so we don't even need that. You'll have to find some other reason to mock the male gender.
Well, there's plenty. There's plenty of time.
We try. This is what makes Odysseus go on his catabasis. He has to go to the underworld to consult the dead, blind prophet Tireseus, find out how he's going to get home, when he's going to get home, if he's going to get home. And then he'll return. He's not really looking for any tremendous wisdom. Ask me, ask me. I got more letters after my name. Ask me. Question? Oh, okay. I believe me, I have questions.
I just say you can't draw. You draw pretty good to me.
What? You're such a sweetheart, and that's Janelle with a J, right? Okay, I'm making a note of that. Anybody else have any completely unsolicited compliments about my artwork?
No, I understand it better when you draw it out.
Yeah, I do too. Believe me, I do too.
Because it's like blah when you're reading it by yourself and there's not any pictures. I know it's kind of juvenile.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I want pictures too. I want pictures and I want maps. And I want music. I want tunes. I want multimedia. I'm,
Isn't it called a movie that you want?
pardon?
Isn't it called a movie that you want?
No, I'm a guy. I don't watch movies. The reason he goes there is to consult Tireseus. I should tell you. Yeah, Taylor?
I just had a question. The reason why he decided to go home, is that when Hermes came back and said to, what was it? Circe that she had to let him go?
No, that's Calypso. That's Calypso. There are parallels between the two. Calypso is kind of a bartender figure at the end of the world too. It's just that Calypso doesn't really give him any wisdom. She just tries to use him and abuse him and turn him into a god and just use his body through all eternity.
So this happens to him really twice. He ends up with two women, or?
Yeah. Bonus?
Did you just decide that it's time to go home, or does it just...
Well, with Calypso, he really wants to go home. With Circe, he just kind of forgets what time it is. And in my many years, in my 41 years, I've been teaching college for 41 years. I've never come up with a even workable explanation for that one, Taylor. He just forgot. I was over at this chick's guys, don't ever use this as an excuse. I was at this chick's house and I forgot what time it was. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's a great way to work at maybe divorced or probably dead. Okay? Okay. Let me tell you about Tireseus and why Odysseus has to go see him. Tireseus is the blind seer of ancient Greece, which means that, he can see into the future, and it's hilarious because he has no eyes. Yeah, I know, really hilarious.
Kind of like similar to the three witches in the Hercules story.
No. Those I know they're the Graiai. Those are the three incredibly beautiful sisters who are goddesses of old age. What are you laughing at, Jackson? Right?
Oh, that was not supposed to be pretty.
They are incredibly old people can be pretty. I am very pretty.
You're gorgeous.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay. They share one eye and one tooth. And they go like, oh, here's Harry Hamlin walking down the street. Oh, I want to see Harry. I want to see him act. No, but thank you. He can't, it's more like the guy at that I think that almost all truth in the world is contained in the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, somewhere or another. There is this old African-American gentleman pumping up and down on a hand car. What's your name? I have no name. What do you do for a living? I work for no man. Well, if you don't have any name, that probably has a bad influence on your job situation. And then he tells them what you will see a cow on the roof of a barn. And he's absolutely right. You will not get the treasure you seek. It's basically kind of, where are you, Janelle? It's basically kind of that. Okay, other questions. Tireseus is interesting. Here's how he lost the use of his sight. One day as Tireseus, this guy named Tireseus is walking down the street, he sees two snakes copulating in the road. And he whacks them with a stick. That was, well, I don't know, and immediately turned into a woman. Let's say that his name is Teresa. He started out on his walk. He was a guy named Tireseus, and he sees the two snakes going at it in the road, a snake and a snakette. He hits them with a stick and immediately turns into a woman. And then he's a woman named Teresa, let's say, for 3 years, because women are actually named that. And then he sees the two snakes, same two snakes, doing the same thing in the same road. So he whacks them with his stick again. And boom, he's a guy named Tireseus again. Well, he thought that was pretty cool. He didn't make a big deal of it until Zeus, the supreme god of the ancient Greeks, and his wife, older sister Hera, supreme goddess of the ancient Greeks, got into an argument over who has more fun during sex. Zeus said, oh, you girls have much more fun during sex. We guys just do all the work. And Hera says, no, you guys just have all the fun during sex. We women just have to act like we're having fun. Ooh, that's cold. And they decide to send for the one person in the whole world who can answer the question, who has more fun during sex? Exactly. He was a dude, he was a chick, and then he's a dude again. So they bring him up to Mount Olympus and say, well, Tireseus, who has more fun during sex? Yeah, Tireseus, who has more fun during sex? And he says, I got to admit, girls have more fun during sex. My first question is then, why the hell did you whack those two snakes with a stick the second time? Who? Whoa! Somebody's going to be compiling a transcript of this we do have to do that, don't we? Yeah, Rich says we got to compile a transcript of this. No, who cares? It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And Hera was so angry. What was it?
What? No?
Hera was so angry that she deprived Tireseus of his sight. He couldn't see. And Zeus couldn't undo that.
Why? But he's supreme ruler of the gods. But you can
He's a boy.
I knew that question was going to be asked, and I knew it was going to be asked by you. Would you please tell Janelle the answer again? You're right,
Because he's a boy?
because he's a boy. And this is a patriarchal society where property is passed from dad onto his sons. But, again,
But I don't understand. If she took the sight away from him and he was Tireseus the male, how come Zeus didn't do it because he was a man, even though he was already a woman, but she took it away from him?
yes. I'm going to fall back on my favorite answer here because the story demands it. Look, here's what happens. You know, Tireseus loses his sight. So Odysseus, he's already been told by Circe to go to hell. We take the poop brown marker and he goes through what we today call the Straits. I almost wrote it with a G, of Gibraltar. And over here we have the gays of Gibraltar. We tried to keep them in separate bars. The Straits of Gibraltar are also known as the Pillars of Heracles. They are a couple of rock formations marking the exit from the Mediterranean Sea into the Atlantic Ocean. And like any narrow passages, they are susceptible to rapid rises and fall in the tide. It's a great place to get shipwrecked. Kids, this is the liminal experience. Because once an ancient Greek boat goes through the Straits of Gibraltar, or the Pillars of Hercules, they are headed toward the end of the world, which is a big frisbee on which the earth is surrounded by water. So what do when you get to the edge of the world?
You die.
You don't want to do that, so you turn right. And then you turn, and remember you're heading in the direction of the setting sun, which is also just very, very katabatic. And then you turn right again, and you are in what country?
Spain.
Nope.
France?
Who said Portugal? Your name is? Shane? Shane wins. Portugal. Is anybody here from Portugal? I once had a student who was from Portugal. I'm doing my Portugal is hell rap, and she says, well, it's really not that bad. That's where my ancestors came from. It wasn't Portugal back then. And,
Turkey, isn't it?
oh God. And then it's time for him to go on his catabasis. The first thing he has to do is sacrifice, a couple of bulls and stuff like that. That always happens. And then he has to dig a trench, which, that's why I had the brown marker, because it's a trench full of earth. And then he has to fill it with the blood of sacrificial animals. Pardon?
So it sounds like every Saturday night for me.
Oh, I know, but I mean, who do you get? Who shows up?
I have to be there because I have to live with her.
Oh, God. The souls of the dead people come flittering up and screaming and screeching to drink from the blood. I pause for your questions.
Why did he drink the blood?
Because, and it's a good question, it will be brilliantly answered by me.
You answered the question.
Yeah. When a human being dies, the body is burned, and all that is left is a soul. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, we learn that the body is just where your immortal soul lives for a while before it returns to its creator. The ancient Greek viewpoint on this was just as depressing as the Sumerian view on this. The ancient Greeks had a really bum Weltanschauung too when it came to this. They're flittering about because they have no memory, they have no mind, they have no body. They just have some dim knowledge of what they were, and drinking the blood won't make them whole, but it will make them pretty close to whole, okay? And I know it's tempting to ask, well, how do you threaten a soul to get away from the blood? It's almost like I'm sitting here in death row for telling bad jokes, sitting here under a no smoking sign, you know, smoking a Swisher Sweet or something like that, and saying, what are you going to do? Kill me? He has to fend the souls off until he asks Tireseus. He even flushes his mom away. Mom, I got to ask Tireseus. And Tireseus says, yeah, you know, you're going to have a tough time getting home because Poseidon hates you for poking his son's eye out. Shouldn't have done that. But yeah, you'll get back, and you'll probably get back with Penny too, just about sure. And you're going to die old and all. Tells him how it's going to be. And at that point, I suppose, Odysseus could go, hey, thanks, Ty, or Teresa, or whatever you prefer to be called. Time for me to fly. But because he's Odysseus, damn it, he wants to find out as much as he can about everything else. Yes. It's really neither here nor there. He just dies of the usual reasons. He sees this guy named, pardon?
Platypus attack.
Yeah. He sees Eurylochus, who is important because he's the sacrificial man. He got drunk, got up on the roof, fell off, and died. That was dumb. That's what it said on his death certificate, Sam. Stupidity. He died in order that Odysseus can pass to the realm of the dead and come back in one piece. He talks to his mother, Anticleia, and Anticleia is the one who tells him that after you die and your body is burned, the smoke of your flesh rises away, but the soul flutters away like a bird. I want to focus on this image for a second, one, because it's really compelling, and number two, it's light. It flutters about. It's weightless. This is a common condition for souls in the underworld. This idea of flying off. Toni Morrison's novel Song of Solomon is going to begin with an announcement by this fellow that at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he is going to appear at his window and fly out of it, which he does not. He dies and hits the pavement. But there's a message here, this idea of flying as a means of being delivered from the world around you. It's just that this world around you isn't any too pleasant. Anticleia is the wisdom figure, Odysseus' own mom, who tells him, after you die, your body is burned and your soul remains, and it's boring and awful and terrible. And oh, by the way, tell this to Penelope too. She does. She says, tell Penelope this too. As if to say, I don't think anybody else in the world could handle this information, but Penelope does too. Odysseus knows, therefore, what's going to happen to him after he dies. He knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to wind up in all of these this underworld, with all of these people whom he proceeds to interview. Agamemnon, For those of you who have studied classical mythology, you will know that Agamemnon went home and got killed by his wife, Clytemnestra. So that when Odysseus says, "Hey, Ag, what are you doing down here?" "Bitch killed me." She killed me. She told me, no hanky-panky until you wash up. Get in the tub and hurry up. I'm waiting. And then she cut me. So that's what happened to Agamemnon. He asks his mom, "Mom, what are you doing down here?" "I died of grief waiting for you." Oh, great. And here, who asked me why I put down Achilles twice? Okay, here's why. He asks Achilles, "Hey, Achilles, I know you're dead. I got to say that you are really awesome. All of the Greeks are talking about you even now, and 450 years from now, some guy named Homer is going to write a poem called the Iliad that's basically going to be all about what a great guy you are. People are going to say you're the greatest Greek who ever lived, and later on they're going to make a movie about the Trojan War called Troy, and you're going to be played by Springfield's own Brad Pitt." And a fine movie it was. And how does it feel to be dead? I understand, as a matter of fact, that you had some rights of judgment over people here. And what Achilles says to him is very important. Because if you go by the heroic code, Achilles has led the ideal life. Killed a lot, screwed a lot, stolen a lot, and nobody ever made him look like a wimp. Anybody who crossed Achilles paid for it. So what if he died when he was like 9 years old? Achilles said, "Never seek, O shining Odysseus. Never seek to console me, O shining Odysseus, for being dead. For I would rather follow the plow to the poorest sharecropper than to reign as crowned king among all the dead." Basically, this idea that you rack up arete and die with an eternal name because life is short, nasty, and brutish, etc. It's all hollow, says Achilles. Achilles is the greatest Greek who ever lived. He's done the greatest things. People will sing his glory forever. And he's basically saying he would rather be out at the corner of Battlefield and Glenstone with a works for food sign than to be king of the dead, or to be the famous dead Achilles. This indicates to me that to Homer, to Odysseus, this whole make a name for yourself doesn't cut it. Life is nasty, brutish, and short, and then you die, and that sucks even worse. Let me pause for your questions here. Somebody's got to have a question. Taylor.
Okay, so wait, the underworld is basically, would you say hell? Or?
I would differentiate. That's an excellent question. It's really not hell.
But everyone ends up going to the underworld when they die?
Correct. Here's how I differentiate it, and this is brilliant. It's a brilliant question by Taylor. I command you all to write down the answer and take it to heart, because I swear to Fluffy, I'll put it on a test. It goes like this. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, we're taught that hell is a place of punishment for bad little boys who, wrap their little brothers upside the head during Mass. Okay? Or for people who, like Adolf Hitler is definitely going to hell. Joseph Stalin, treading lava. Osama bin Laden, good luck. Okay? That if you're good, if you lead a life that is pleasing to God, you play the game by the rules, you wind up in heaven. To the Greeks of Homer's time, just as to the Sumerians, you could say it's hell because it's the afterlife, so to speak, but it's not a place of eternal punishment because it's where everybody goes, with some exceptions. Okay, any future lawyers in the audience? With a few exceptions. With a few exceptions, and I've written their names up on the board. Ixion, Tireseus, Sisyphus, Tantalus, and Fred Bob. But I would caution you, it is the realm of the dead. Okay? But it's not quite hell, because hell is a place of punishment. Good question. Very nicely answered, I think, by me. Other questions? They don't even have to be that good. What the hell? Everybody else is sitting here like a stump.
So when Odysseus goes to Underworld, he basically has to go to the Strait and then miss the edge of the world.
Correct? Yeah, and there are going to be more details added on. Traditionally, there's the ferryman, right? And you're going to meet him actually Thursday in Aristophanes' Frogs. We're probably not going to be talking about the frogs. I'm probably just be droning on endlessly but I'll draw crap on the board if you like that, about that sort of thing. But the underworld has its own topography that's not present here. Charon the boatman, Cerberus, the three-headed hound of hell, the river of poop, and all of that stuff. It's not here, though. Not yet. Go ahead. Yeah, Divine?
But in the underworld, isn't there a place for like heroes?
Yeah, we're getting to that.
So shouldn't Achilles should be there and he shouldn't really be whining and complaining?
Hercules should not be whining and complaining because he's Hercules, damn it.
I said Achilles.
I saw a hand go up. Okay. Here comes another segment. Okay, go ahead. Bethany?
Isn't there multiple levels of the underworld?
That's Dante.
That's Dante. Okay, I couldn't remember.
Oh, yeah. No. Wait till we go to Dante's underworld. He's got like 7 different levels and stuff like that, like Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, and then down at the bottom is Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is just this evil turd who almost makes me embarrassed to be a baldy. That's right. I'm bald. Just outed myself on camera. Go ahead.
It's just boring, and basically to all of them, they just hate it.
Well, have you ever been in a waiting room? Or, no, let's try this. Have you ever been in a lecture hall where there's a PowerPoint going and some dork with a PhD is going, okay? I mean, what is that? Or, like the 8th hour of a 10-hour flight. Oh my God, I'm never, you tend to associate more with being a little kid. Are we there yet? You're never there. And it never gets more interesting. And the only thing you know for sure is that it'll never stop.
Does that mean you have somebody singing stupid songs the entire time?
I know, so I guess everybody's there.
No, but it's not even like the middle of Freebird. But it's terrible. Go ahead. Your name is still Elena.
Do you still get to like talk to other people?
No. It's just really terrible because really I don't want to turn off the light. What would happen if I turned off the light? Nothing would happen because the shades are open. But we'd basically just be, and really there wouldn't be any of you for me to see. Like, that chick over there is hot. I don't know if she's hot or not. She's just like this vapor. It's terrible. And you say, God, I wish I would have downloaded those LLT 180 lectures while I had a chance. I'd even give that crap a shot now. No. Just try to imagine eternal boredom, eternal pointlessness. And I guess it's got to give you a jolly special feeling inside. Well, Mommy, why do we live? If we're just going to just sit around in the afterlife as these immaterial souls just doing nothing through all eternity. What the hell do you say? What do you say, Elena?
It's a party.
No, really, what do you... Mom, what's the purpose of life?
Smack them in the head and tell them to shut their face.
But then they get bigger than you and they do the same thing to you.
I say just go and have fun, because after this, you're just going to be sitting around doing nothing.
That's what Siduri said. And that's kind of what Circe, in her role as the bartender at the edge of the world, is, pushing Odysseus to do it. Oh yeah, I'm married. Go to hell. Go there and find out. In Judeo-Christian tradition, hell is usually a place of punishment, not even atonement, because it's made clear in most religious traditions that when you're in hell, who goes to hell stays in hell. Some people who are, kindly will say, well, it's more of a state of eternal separate. There's probably not any lava or devils or plain white tees music. It's just, knowing that God wanted you to be together and you are now separated from God from eternity because of your own actions. Man, just try to spend eternity thinking that. I think I'd take the lava myself. But getting back to Devi's fine question, there are some signs, and this gets back to your question too, Taylor, there are some signs of a notion of eternal reward and eternal punishment. Some of the better heroes of the Trojan War, and this is according to the Odyssey, the ones who are either half gods, half goddesses, or got married to a god or goddess, like Menelaus, who is Mr. Helen. He's completely mortal, but because he's Mr. Helen, he gets to live in this place called the Elysian Fields. I'm not writing it on the board. If you've ever traveled to Paris, France, and you've seen the Champs-Élysées, that means the Elysian Fields. Place where nobody commits hiatus. It's a place where just all the gods and goddesses, maybe still a little bit boring, but at least, they got cute slave girls and cute slave boys, stuff to drink, they have bodies and all of that so they can sleep and wrestle and run and have sex and do whatever. But it doesn't matter for Bubacus and Jethro, your average ancient Greek in the street. Because no matter how good of a life you lead, no matter how nice and sweet you are, you have to have connections to wind up in the Elysian Fields. It is exactly, and I do mean exactly, the same as with Utnapishtim in his little paradise of Dilmun. Utnapishtim didn't do anything really awesome to merit being saved. Mrs. Utnapishtim, who is nicer than her husband, doesn't do anything especially wonderful that she should be saved. They're just friends of the water god Enki. He saves them just because he feels like it. The demigods and heroes who live in the Elysian Fields are basically like the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and the Bushes and the Blunts and the Carnahans and just, oh God, shoot me now. No, I am not going to put the Kardashians in the Elysian Fields. They are going to tread lava with plain white tea music forever and ever. To the viewer, 10 years from now, hopefully you will have forgotten about the stupid, trashy Kardashians and their stupid, trashy reality show. They were a breed of women with really big butts and no other discernible talent who were condemned for their sins to immortally, oh God, bring Elvis Bacon. Or I don't know. Because there are special punishments for especially bad sinners also. And there are concepts of judges there too, but that's boring. There's a judge named Minos. This is a guy whose wife dropped him for a bowl. I mean, you got to be a really great husband if your wife takes up with livestock. He gets to be a judge in the underworld because he used to be a king. But the names I've listed on the board, Ixion, Tireseus, Sisyphus, and Tantalus, are 4 examples of human beings who sinned badly enough that they need to be punished. I would say, Hitler, Stalin, Osama, Mao Zedong, if I had to name my top 4 lava treaders of all time. And whoever wrote the song, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Or Cotton Eye Joe. That's another good one. Okay. I mean, we could all name people, 4 top lava treaders of all time. But here are the Greeks' version. Ixion, he tried to rape Hera. And when Hera came back and said, "Hey Zeus, your friend Ixion tried to put the old erotic full Nilsson on me as I was walking by," he said, and I mean, there was a time I used to say it with a joke in my voice, but it's not funny. He blamed it on Hera. He said, "Well, are you sure you were dressed appropriately?" He basically blamed Hera for looking too female and drawing Ixion's attention. So Hera says, "Watch this." And they make a Hera out of clouds, like a kind of a blow-up love Hera, and kind of float it by Ixion. He jumps it. He gets it pregnant. It gives birth to this guy named Centaurus, who has a thing for horses. But that's a different story. In return for his crime in trying to rape Hera, Ixion spins round on a burning ring of fire. He spins round, round, round. And does anybody want to guess what happens to him? No, the flames get higher. And it burns, 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 that ring of fire. That's what happens to Ixion. He burns on a ring of fire. Tireseus, in addition to having just a really stupid name, the ancient Greek word for titties is titties. He tried to rape Leto, the mother of Artemis and Apollo. So he gets to have his liver eaten by an eagle every day. How's that for eternity? Would you pick boredom? Or would you pick, oh God, it's 3 p.m? Yes, your name is? Holly.
Isn't that the same guy that was supposed to give fire to man?
No, it's Prometheus.
Now that's Prometheus, same theme. He had a big old gutter eagle come out and rip his liver out any day too. But since he's Prometheus, Holly, damn it, and he knows all things that are going to happen, he's lying there while the gutter eagle is ripping out his liver, says, this really hurts, and I wish I were a human so I could die and not have this happen. But it's okay. Zeus is going to let me off this place, this rock, one of these days, because I know the name of the one girl in this whole world who will bear a son greater than his father. And Zeus doesn't. Ha, 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 ha. And since there is no known form of birth control that can hold loose the Zeus, he's got to behave himself. Because I am the only one who knows the one girl that he has to stay away from. Ha, 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 so come on, rip my liver out again. Okay, Prometheus is kind of happy and whipping the finger. Yeah, exactly, while his liver, whistle while your liver is being ripped out by a gutter eagle. Yes, Sammy.
Okay, since you said this happens every day, is this almost like a Groundhog Day?
Oh, God, yeah. Only Groundhog Day is once a year, right?
No, like the movie.
Oh, the movie.
He has to live that's the same thing until he gets it right.
Except for Bill eventually gets it right. Tireseus pulled a bad career move. Then there is Tantalus. At this point I have to ask, has anybody in this room ever had a tantalizing meal? What would you describe as a tantalizing meal? As opposed to, what does tantalizing mean? Yes, okay, it means steak. It means, yeah. It means a, bacon? Did you say bacon?
There's bacon on the potato.
Okay, filet mignon.
With a wrap.
and here's bacon wrapped around it.
Go you.
But if it were truly tantalizing, it would grow feet and run away from you. Tantalus is stuck in water up to his waist. He gets thirsty, he bends down, it recedes. He reaches up for the Bavarian cream donuts on the Bavarian cream donut tree, and the branches go up. He's stuck. This, I almost said A55 clown, tried to feed his own kid to the gods. Do we have any moms or dads in this classroom? Anybody who has had kids here? Rich? You ever been tempted to feed your kids to the gods?
Not yet.
Sell them to the gypsies maybe, but feed them to the gods. And this guy cooked his kid up and made a stew out of him, and it's stupid. Huh? I didn't hear that? I'm old, I don't.
Casey Anthony, the lady that went to jail for killing, she got off the hook for killing her child.
Janelle, they had a lot of stories about this in the ancient world as well, too. And they had plays about this woman named Medea who killed her kids to get even with her son Jason, her husband Jason, who tried to dump her for a 16-year-old. And she said, "Sure, Jason, why don't you go marry Miss Teeny Bopper over there? I'll be okay." Now, he knows that she's a witch, right?
Okay.
She's a powerful witch. She married him. She saved his life. And he says to her, "Oh, geez, you're pushing 30. I better get married to a 15-year-old. "Oh, sure, honey. Here's a little shawl you can put around your little girly shoulders." "Gee, Madea, you're being really cool about this." Because he's stupid. He's got Jim Carrey playing him. And he puts the little thing around, his 15-year-old child bride, and she just starts burning. So the ancients were hung up on that whole Casey Anthony, Susan Smith, I killed my kids and fed them to my dogs sort of vibe. So, and Tantalus did too. My favorite is Sisyphus, the guy who cheated death. Here's how he cheated death. Pardon? I'll tell you. This is how he cheated death. He found out it was time for him to die. There's a song, and I believe it's time for me to die. And he says to his wife, Mrs. Sisyphus, this is what I want you to do. After I die, do not perform any of the sacrifices. Do not perform any of the prayers. Don't sacrifice any filet mignons with bacon around them to Zeus and Hades. "Well, you're my husband. You're dying. I'm your wife. This is what I'm supposed to do." "Honey, just listen." So he dies, and he goes down to the underworld, and he's there in the underworld. Hades sees him. Sisyphus, I believe. Yeah. No sacrifices. Not good. Nobody sacrificed any filet mignons to me. Sisyphus says, "What? That dumb old hag of a wife of mine did not even... No sacrifices." And he gets all mad, and he says, "I tell you what, just let me go back up there, and I'll talk some sense into the old battle axe and make her perform the sacrifices." To which Hades says, he's not very bright. "Okay." And so Sisyphus traipses right back up to his home. "Honey, I'm home. Thanks for not performing the sacrifices. You're the bomb, honey." But it's hubris. Thinking that you're smarter than a god is hubris. And it's either death or something that makes you wish you were dead. Sisyphus is the Rolling Stone dude. All you got to do, sis, is roll that rock up the hill, and once you get it up that hill with no problems, it'll roll down and you'll be free to just, sit down next to Taylor and just be bored through all eternity. And remember, Elena, no cards, no newspapers, none of those horrible, nothing. something pretty good to Sisyphus. And every time sometimes he gets really close, and I guess there's an internet app where you can do Sisyphus. It's really funny for the first 2 times, and then just downright infuriating after that. Because the damn rock just rolls down and, oh crap. Well, I guess I'd better get up and try it again. Why does he get up and try it again? Why doesn't he just lie there? Because he has to, and the dumb A55 thinks that there's actually a chance that he might get it up this time. What a happy metaphor for life. Yes?
How does he end up getting down there and rolling the stone the whole time after he gets back up to his wife? Am I talking about the same person?
He dies.
He dies again?
Yeah. For good this time. Saying like, ah yes, Sisyphus, we got a spot reserved for you. Here's the stuff. And having learned all of this, Odysseus goes back to his ship, goes back to Circe, and says, I'm ready to get back on the boat and head home. Odysseus has some more adventures, but you can tell, or at least I can tell, that this time around from this catabasis, he's learned something. It's kind of embarrassing to me as a Malo-American, which is a new name I just invented for myself, a Mano-American, that Odysseus had to be told, Circe had to tell him, hey, Odysseus, it's time for you to go home. He forgot. But he eventually makes Calypso, the smoking hot goddess who just wants to rape his bod for all eternity, let him go. On the off chance that Penelope might be alive, single, and willing to take him back. He knows, Odysseus knows, that by leaving Calypso, he is trading immortality, and I imagine Taylor would get pretty boring hanging around with Calypso too after a while, but it'd be kind of fun getting bored. He's trading it for a lock-cinch eternity of being a shade, a BB in a beer can for all eternity, because he wants to be with Penelope. Is she impressed by that? Who the heck knows? Women, go figure them. Seriously, we'll cover that. We'll get Odysseus home more or less in one piece, talk about some catabatic things, and then I'll give you an introduction to Aristophanes' The Frogs. What I would like you to do is to read, well, it's a PDF file. Read a whole bunch of it until you get tired and come asked with questions, because I will call the roll and make you each ask me a question. I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming by. It's been fun.